Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Freezone. With me, as always, is Derek. Derek, how you doing this evening?
Pretty good, buddy. How you been?
Okay. I've been okay.
We also have E40 in the studio, famous rapper from 1996.
Yeah. That too.
Jessica Gonzalez, who helps out Back Home Media quite a bit. She's seasoning some meat,
Okay.
whatever that means, and she's gonna be here in like 5 or 10 minutes. And she went to the arraignment today. Talk a little bit about the arraignment today, because I guess I went to one a week ago.
Yeah,
but go ahead. Yeah,
exactly. A week ago, you went to the arraignment of the 4 original suspects. Today's arraignment was for Paul Grice, the fifth arrest made. And it would have been a very similar procedure to the one you went through, where they basically just bring him in, read to him the charges that they're charged with, ask him if he has an attorney, all that kind of stuff. There's really, an arraignment's really pretty quick. It's as I'm sure you remember from last week, right?
yeah.
And so, that's basically what's going. They just bring him in, they read the charges to him, and then, and there's also, an opportunity for bail, I think, at that time. Yeah. Which I assume the other 4 suspects were denied bail. So
yeah,
I assume Paul Grice was today too, but I don't know that for sure.
Well,
Jessica can probably tell us that.
Well, before Jessica gets here, I kind of want to talk about a little bit. I want to ask both of you, like, do you watch any of the national coverage of this case at all? If yes, so why not?
I've watched a little bit of it.
Just the local stuff.
I've watched a little bit of the national coverage because of my wife. She has watched a lot of it, and so that has left me watching it, and she mostly watches it over YouTube. So she's watched some of News Nation's coverage, which is sometimes almost comically inaccurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, inaccurate about little things. They get the big stuff.
Little things, but big things. Like last night, me and D-Hay, we have like not watched any national news coverage. Last night we saw like the News Nation. No, we were looking at the arraignment because I missed it. I didn't go to the arraignment. Jessica did. She's gonna come tell us about it. But we went, and News Nation had a video that was pretty new. And me and D-Hay watched it late last night. And it was a lady, and they had obtained gas station footage of Tiffany Adams, like with her 2 grandkids, just shopping.
Yeah.
And then, they're
to me like it was a Dollar General.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So they're literally just shopping.
Yeah.
And so then the lady on the screen, like, with the nice hair, and she's in a studio, she just starts running off in the mouth saying stuff like, so this lady, this Tiffany Adams, this grandma, she's here shopping at a local store. She's got a shirt on that says Jesus loves you or whatever. And then all the time she's plotting a murder with God's misfits in Oakland. Why are we lumping an entire congregation of people who say they worship God into a plot to kill somebody? It's just reckless.
Because that's how you sell stuff, and you make it sound like a big plot, like a conspiracy. I mean, if you listen to some of the coverage back before there were arrests made, people kept talking about, they describing this group as a cult and talking about a compound, and and News Nation was one of those that talked about that stuff, and there were others that were here covering things, and so it's kind of like I said, we all have that morbid curiosity, but that creates a whole lot of just kind of spurious coverage of things, but the other thing is too, that same report that you're talking about, I watched it, and she misidentified. She talked about they were going to pick up Jillian Kelly's children, and I mean, again, it's a small thing, but it's a small thing that's fairly important to the story,
difference.
Yeah.
So and that's what I'm saying. You watch them, and just having, knowing what's going on here locally and everything. And it's sometimes it's usually relatively small things, but they sometimes get things they are sometimes comically inaccurate in their coverage.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's, they're so quick to just get it out. They're firing it out,
Well, and a lot of it is, you've got news anchors that are talking about something that they have no real familiarity with. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that they read a couple of times a day,
Yeah.
And so, I understand how, how mistakes get made, but
somebody sent me I don't know if it was a screen, I don't know, so I guess that rock chalk, I never meant to say anything like disparaging against any of the reporters, but like I was a little wilded out by like how people were all of a sudden so interested in this part of the country and our safety, and how they were just the recklessness of just handing anybody a microphone. Like I thought that was, but somebody sent me a message and they're like, I guess she said on the air like that back home media didn't like her, but now we're cool because Jessica's her boo, and Jessica works for back home. And again, stop being political with these are two dead women, like those kids in that video footage they were showing on News Nation, like check this out, like they don't have parents anymore, no matter how you cut it. I mean, well, I guess they have their dad, but I mean, even then he's in some issues not related to this, but he was in some issues, so those kids, like rock chalk, who gives a shit if Derek Rutherford likes you or not? I mean, at the end of the day, like this is a very serious situation. Norm, before Jessica gets here, and all she's going to do is just kind of give us a read on the body language today of the suspect, but you had prepared some things that you were going to talk about tonight on the show, and we'll just kind of get into it. At first, you wanted to talk about smartphones and if they're murdering children.
Okay, yeah. So what I wanted to talk about is I saw it's actually a combination of a couple of articles and some studies that have come out, and that basically one of the articles was titled, "Are Smartphones Killing Your Kids?" Okay. And so if you'll remember back, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked about the social isolation, that how our social isolation has increased dramatically in the last 3 years for teenagers, especially. They are now report 50% less face-to-face social interactions than did teens just 5 years ago. Okay. And that's part of this same phenomena. And so I basically, I want to talk about both of those things. First of all, the article that asked, "Are smartphones killing our kids?" It was looking at the depressive effects of social media on teenagers, and the fact that across the board, teenagers that are heavy users of social media report much higher instances of depression and jealousy and suicidal ideation than do teens that are not heavy users of social media. Although being a teacher, I haven't seen many teens that aren't heavy users of social media. And so that was one of the things that they were focusing on is the teen suicide crisis driven by social media and smartphones? And there is certainly some pretty good empirical evidence to suggest that that is definitely playing a part. And again, then the other aspect of it that is really intriguing to me, and that I think we need to continue to explore, is that idea that our reliance on social media and on smartphones is causing a huge decrease in the number of face-to-face social interactions. And so to me, those are both things that we need to take a look at and talk about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, Jessica's here. She's gonna finish up her smoke. So I think I sent you I sent you a meme because I was trying to be a smart ass, and you told me that I was dumb because I was using propaganda to like, but basically like you see a lot of like, there's like a whole thing on there's a whole subreddit on Reddit where like they're basically saying like that phones are bad and everything essentially,
Yeah,
but and they're saying they show like these memes. Hey D, will you give her everything? So basically they have these memes set up that like they show a guy and a girl laying in bed facing away from each other and playing on their phones, and they're just like, but then I was like, well, in the 50s that we had 2 separate beds, but I mean, can you really, can this conversation be had about any piece of technology that makes you do something besides sit in a room?
I mean, you could blame it on all devices, but we're always with our phones everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So we're emotionally and socially just
all right. What struck me the most about this study, and like I said, and again, coupling this with prior knowledge, okay, with another study. There was another study that came out, and by the way, this is something that had this was not new stuff. It's findings that have been trending this way for the last 5 to 10 years, okay? Believe it or not, most metrics of social well-being for teenagers are getting better. Drug use is down across the board over the last 5 years. Alcohol use is down across the board over the last 5 years. Teen pregnancies are down across the board over the last 5 years. And then this one would seem to follow in line with that, but it was the one that struck me, was that teens report having less sex. Now, that's the first time in, the history of studies like this that teens have reported, that teens today seem to be having less sex than teens 5 years ago were, right? I mean, this is a time in your life where, we want kids to be careful and all that, but it's a time in your life when people start to explore and experiment, right? And so that's not something that you expect to happen until you couple it with that study that shows 50% less face-to-face social interactions, and now suddenly that makes complete sense, right? Kids are spending less time together, they're talking to each other less, and suddenly now some of those things make a whole lot more sense. It puts a whole new focus on them.
Well, I think a lot of it too is communication. People can, it's hard to keep a secret in 2024, and people talk, and you have a lot of people out there that are influencers that are speaking their truth, and you have people talking about like okay, so kids having sex probably never a good idea, but I mean, if you would ask like most people, like were your sexual experiences like positive? I'm not talking about like dark stuff, but just like, was it like, and most people probably like, not really. It was, so what I'm saying, like, I think that there's a lot more knowledge as far as like what you're actually walking into, rather than like these preconceived notions that you get from watching films and reading books and stuff. You're like, I kind of know what's going to happen, and we're not going to be friends after.
I would both agree and disagree with that. Okay, I understand what you're saying, and there's a lot of truth to it, but and this is the access to internet porn, which is so easily accessible and is so readily consumed. Studies have shown that creates completely unrealistic expectations of what of the actual experience.
But I mean, even me, like I'm not like attractive or anything, but I'm somebody who, like, if I was single, I don't think, I know a lot of guys that are not my age or like a few years around my age that are actively like not looking for a woman.
Well, and there's a reason why the term incel has come into proper
but
use.
No, it's but no, these people are not, it's not that that's not an option, but I think it, like, the best way to describe it is, then what? Like, yeah, you can go sleep with somebody, but then what? Then, or you have to date each other? Do you have to feel awkward? Do you have to feel like one of you use each other? I think now with our generation, like, anybody can go out and have sex, but what do you do after it? Like, how do you deal with that? Anyway, we're getting into weird territory. Jessica, welcome to the show. I overslept and woke up, and I had a text from her at 6 a.m. asking me when I was going to be at the courthouse, and I got that at like noon. That's when I woke up today. So what did you see today in Guyman, Oklahoma?
So when I got there, I obviously missed him coming in. He was already in there. He wasn't in the courtroom, but he was already in there. So apparently I did see, though, when he was walking in, he's the only one of any of them that have said anything. And I don't really know how to take it. I don't know how I would take it if it was me personally, as them families, or whether he was being sincere. But I will say that he's the only one that looked anything like he had any type of regret. And I don't know if it's the regret for his action or just the fact that he knows that he just lost his life at 31, and that he just lost his family. His kids are young. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was more of that, because when he was walking in, apparently they asked him, do you have anything to say to the family? And he said, I'm sorry for your loss, even though their loss is at his hands,
Right.
Yeah.
And then they said, do you have anything to say to your family? And he said, I miss them and I love them, so, and then he didn't really have a cocky look about him or anything. He looked like a scared little kid a little bit, honestly. Yeah. But he got the same thing as everybody else, no bond, set for May 15th at 9 a.m.
I'm a little curious. Did he try to file any paperwork or talk about it, making any motions at the arraignment?
No, he didn't really say anything. He just he answered the judge his questions of he understood, his rights. He did state he can't afford an attorney, so they're going to appoint an attorney for him, but he didn't make any statements about anything.
The reason I ask is because American state nationals like him, when they buy the papers, to have themselves declared American state nationals, they also, along with it comes a packet of all kinds of court documents that the whole idea is basically to obfuscate and delay and, everything like that.
Off,
And
I mean, once the attorneys come in, he might try that. You never know, but he didn't really have anything to say. And that's what everybody's kind of like, where's all y'all's beliefs now? You know what I mean? Like, where are you at now?
Yeah.
Because that paper he filed was like 44 pages long. The one that's on the court documents, from like denouncing his citizenship and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which you can't even do. You actually have to go to a consulate somewhere on another country's territory,
Yeah, well, and something else that American state nationals usually do is they try to obtain a passport and get a non-citizen passport, and then they try to use that as their only form of identification. When police pull them over in a traffic stop, that's what they give them for identification. And I read a really interesting article in Police One, which is a publication that caters to police officers and advises police officers. And basically it was just released about 2 weeks ago, and they were warning them about American state nationals, even though the phenomenon has been around for at least 7 or 8 years. They were saying how there's been a huge uptick in American state nationals, and how the American state nationals seem to be even more dangerous and unpredictable than the sovereign citizens movement was. That it seems to be an even more extreme offshoot of the sovereign citizen movement. And what brought the article about was an incident where a routine traffic stop, well, actually two, where routine traffic stops had turned into shootings. One of them in which the person who was being stopped was shot by 4 officers, and the other one where an officer was shot by an American state national that he was trying to stop. And so, they were basically just telling officers, listen, they're going to argue with you. They're going to say you have no authority. Write them the ticket, give them the ticket, let the court sort it out. Don't argue with them. Don't mess with them. Write them the ticket and let the court sort it out.
Is there any legitimacy in, like American state nationalists?
No, there is absolutely no constitutional legitimacy to any
like
of
the
it.
maritime law.
Basically, it's exactly the same bill of goods from another angle that they sold as the sovereign citizen movement. It's all part of the same movement. It's all coming from the same people. And basically what you've got is you've got a few people that are holding these workshops and selling these papers that are making money off of a bunch of people that aren't satisfied with the government. And I can understand not being satisfied with the government, but trying to sell them this bill of goods that if you do this, this, and this, you'll be exempt from the laws of this nation.
Is there any legitimate way of not making yourself able to be not convicted in any court, but any way to like emancipate yourself from the United States while living
here?
Sure,
move out of the United States.
No, like if
while living here, no.
Even if you own property,
it doesn't matter whether you're a citizen.
I mean,
or
you
not.
have to break it down like this. So, like, pretend like this is my house and I'm Joe Biden, and my kids say, well, we want to live by our own rules. We want to be sovereign citizens. Like, can you see any realistic way where it would make sense where I would allow them to live call their own country their bedrooms in the house that I own?
The Amish are close, but they govern themselves.
Now, again, there are religious exemptions there, but they're not. Yeah, they're still subject to the laws of this country. But
they don't pay taxes.
I mean,
I don't know whether that's true or not, Brian. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't know. No. Now the church doesn't, but individuals still do.
But what do you consider the church if you're the whole body of Christ is the church? You know what I'm saying? There's ways you can.
Okay, so the
Amish people
government
do have to pay
makes
taxes. They have to pay property taxes, sales tax, and
the government makes a huge
taxes.
distinction between a church, which is generally a physical building with you see what I'm saying, and the people that attend it. Okay?
Right. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like, is there like even if you own land in the United States, if they decide to build a freeway through your
They're taking it.
property, you have to give it up by
Yeah, it's called eminent domain.
right.
Yeah.
So
They just did that over around the city, actually,
Yes.
where they're going to make a new bypass.
Yeah.
So really, there's no way of
You can fight eminent domain. It's been done. But no, your chances of success are slim. They really are. However, I'll be honest with you, especially state and local governments sometimes really overstep on eminent domain. And so, and for that reason, it has sometimes been successfully challenged in the courts because, state and city governments are sometimes bad about claiming eminent domain when the reasons are economic instead of public necessity. Okay, eminent domain by public necessity. We need to improve our public transportation system. We need to. Okay,
And that's what they're doing in the city. It's not a bypass; it's a turnpike they're putting in
yeah,
over by the Norman area.
yeah, right. But when you start tearing down, or you want to go in and tear down people's old houses so that you can turn that into a new real estate development, that's an overreach on the part of of governments. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm someone who is very often dissatisfied with the government, very often don't trust the government. Okay, but at the same time, I have always felt like the best way to try and change the government's to try and work within our political system.
Yeah.
So real quick, back to that court.
Yeah.
So on the thing, all of them have been taken without no bond. They have no bond
Mhm.
set. But once they get their court appointed attorneys, once they get their evidence and stuff, they can put in a motion to have a new court
Right.
set and try to have that redone to where they can get them a bond.
Mhm.
Highly doubt it'll be successful, but they have that opportunity.
And so the next step on May 15th, I believe, for the original four suspects.
All 5 of them
Oh,
are
is
going there.
it'll be
Yeah,
all 5 of
it'll
them
be
on
all
May
5.
15th. Now that'll be where they make their pleas, right? Will be the plea hearing.
I'm not sure if that's where I'm not sure how that all goes. Don't get me to quoting things. I know that they'll all have
I would
the
think
council
so.
where they have met their counsel and
Yeah.
stuff. I think that's where it's pretty
I've been
much
in
like
trouble
a
enough times that I
Yeah.
think it's the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
time.
I was gonna
it's
say
your
I
arraignment,
thought that
and
was
then
next
you-
was it's called the preliminary hearing, and that's where you enter a plea and
I'm not
do
proud
all
to
of that
say
kind
it,
of
but
stuff. Yeah.
Hey man, that's why I told you to come hang out, man. I'd have to hear. So we're gonna move on, Jess. If you want to hang out, we'd love to have you talk on the show. But if you have stuff to do, you can. But thank you for reporting, and thank you for not forgetting that was today and sleeping till noon like I did. But you're willing to hang out. I just ask if you want to talk. If anyone wants to talk and you don't have a mic, just literally reach over and touch the person
Yeah.
next to you, just talking to the mic. Next segment, are schools indoctrinating your children? Norm, you talk first, and we'll let your your studio audience talk a little
All
bit.
right. Yeah. And listen, this is one where we're probably going to have some people that have some disagreement. It amazed me the vehemence of people that believe that schools are indoctrinating their children. Here's what I'm going to say. I know you've all been told stories on the news and from talk radio and from politicians more than anything about, oh, this happened at this school and this happened at this school and this happened at this school. And one thing that I want to point out to you is, number one, there are over 100,000 schools in the United States. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So unless something has happened at 2,000 or 3,000, it hasn't happened at even 2 or 3% of schools in the United States. Okay. And so I think sometimes we forget the staggering number of schools and the staggering number of students there are in the United States. The other thing that I want to point out is not only are these stories in a tiny fraction, of a percentage of schools, but also the thing that I want to point out to you is you control your own schools locally through the elections of school
vote,
board
yeah.
members.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, schools generally reflect the ideological makeup of the community that they are in. Okay, if you're in a red state, chances are most of your teachers are Republicans. Most of your teachers' beliefs are pretty similar to yours because most of them, not all of them, but most of them, especially in a small town, probably grew up there in the town
Yeah.
that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
teaching in, and if not, they probably grew up in neighboring towns or in that part of the state. Okay. And so very often, I think we see the national media. It's kind of like the same way that everybody thinks that life is worse now than it's ever been, when in fact all the metrics show that life is better now than it has ever been in human history, right? And the reason why we get that impression that things are worse now than they've ever been is because we watch the news, and it has this cumulative effect on us. We see this, and this incident, and we extrapolate it within our minds to say, oh, it's going on everywhere, when in fact it's really not. In fact, life is good. even though CNN and Fox and everybody else want you to think it's not. Life's actually pretty darn good. It's the best it's ever been. And the same thing happens in many facets of life, but the same thing happens when it comes to schools, right? We see that, oh, this school did this and that's horrible, and this school did this. If you want to know what's going on in your school, couple of things. Number one, if you got kids in school, go down to the school, talk to your kids' teachers, talk to your kids. Number two, talk to your school board members. Okay. And number three, if you think things aren't going right in your schools, vote for different school board members when school board elections come up. Okay. That's who controls your schools, and you control the school board through voting. So never forget that schools are run by politicians. Okay. That's what school board members are. They are politicians, and schools are run by politicians, and you get to decide who those politicians are that run your schools. That's the power of the vote. So if you're worried about your local schools, don't skip your local school board elections. Don't wait until there's a presidential election to vote. Get down there and vote in your local elections. Be an active participant in that process.
So, just me asking, like, critical race theory, is that something that's taught like on a
critical race theory? First of all, I'm not going to say that it's not taught, but I'm going to tell you this. Critical race theory is something that I have never heard a single person define.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ain't heard nothing.
I know what most people think of when they think of critical race theory is teaching that white people are all racist, and that the United States is a horrible country and all that. Okay. And I'm not saying that that's not what critical race theory is, but I'm telling you, if you think critical race theory is being taught in Elkhart High School, you're full of crap.
Right.
Okay. If you think critical race theory is being taught in Liberal High School or Dodge City High School, you're full of crap. Now, I will admit that to a certain extent, if you want to know what curriculum's being taught and you want to know who really drives curriculum, it's textbook companies and certain states. California and Texas drive curriculum because they're the big markets for the textbook companies. Okay. And so in this part of the country, the curriculum of most of the textbooks that are used in this part of the country is set by the state of Texas, because the textbook companies want to please the state of Texas, because that's who's going to buy most of those textbooks. That's the most populous state in the region, right? And so Texas has more power in setting curriculum than do schools obviously in Kansas, which is very sparsely populated, Oklahoma, any of the states in this region. To the West Coast, it's California that tends to set the curriculum. Okay, now, are schools in California going to be teaching a more liberal curriculum than schools here in the middle of the country? Absolutely, they are, because it reflects their community.
The culture,
yeah, it reflects the culture of that part of the country. And that's what I'm saying, is that your schools tend to reflect the culture of your community. And even the curriculum, to a certain extent, while it is affected by bigger states, even the curriculum which comes from by the way, there are so many schools that don't even use textbooks anymore for this very reason. Because if you follow the curriculum that comes out of a textbook, locally, you have no control over the curriculum. Okay. And that's why so many schools, actually, I know that's not. I would like to say that that's why so many schools have gone away from using textbooks to drive their curriculum. The truth is, so many schools have gone away from using textbooks because they don't want to spend the money on the textbooks.
Yeah, they're so darn expensive.
Yeah, that's really the truth. Okay, like Liberal. Okay, I taught at Liberal High School for 15 years, never had a textbook to teach out of. Okay. You come up, I mean, the school tells you, here are the standards, here's what you have to teach. But as far as day-to-day curriculum, you're coming up with that on your own a lot. Or your department sets that curriculum for you.
And you
Okay.
figure everything could be digital and cheaper, but is it?
Textbooks, a lot of textbooks now are starting to come out. Yeah, they're starting to sell schools digital only textbooks. Yeah. I have not worked with those a whole lot. I don't know how well they work, but yeah, a digital curriculum is definitely that's kind of where we're headed, and a lot of people are already there.
I work with the digital tablet with paperwork at work, and it sucks. Like,
Yeah,
I don't like it, but
yeah. And so that's the thing that I want people to understand is, like, all kinds of people talk about critical race theory, and I understand what you're talking about, and I get why you wouldn't want that taught. We've had states like Oklahoma that have passed laws saying that you can't teach. All right, Oklahoma passed a law saying you can't teach it. I'll guarantee you there wasn't a damn school in Oklahoma that was ever teaching it. You know what I'm saying? All they have done is put teachers at jeopardy. Unfortunately, technically put teachers at jeopardy for teaching actual history. They're saying, oh, you can't deny history. Well, guess what? Both sides are trying to deny history. Okay.
I mean, they don't ever really teach all of history anyways. They've sugarcoated it all the way, and they've twisted it.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Okay. But what I'm saying is one side wants to cover up history in one way. The other side wants to cover it up in the other way, and that's the problem, is that our society has become so polarized, and neither side wants to tell you the truth. They want to tell you their version of the truth.
What's that saying? There's three sides to a story: your side, their side, and then in the middle, the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Your side, my side, and the truth. Absolutely. I believe that 100%. I think we're all guilty of that. We tell, we want to tell our side of things. And so everybody's a cheerleader for their own beliefs, and everybody hates the other side's beliefs. Okay. But again, your schools are going to be, because they're controlled locally, your schools are going to be a reflection of your community. If you're worried about, this school down here indoctrinating your kids, they are indoctrinating your kids on certain things. Okay. If you call, all right, for instance, standing up and doing the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, is that indoctrination? Yeah, it is. Now, you might consider it to be positive indoctrination, but it is indoctrination, right? I'm going to be honest with you. And by the way, I have nothing against the Pledge of Allegiance, so please don't take this wrong.
Push that in there. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Let me see it. Hello. Test. 1, 2. There you go.
But honestly, our founding fathers would be appalled by the idea that school children are standing in a classroom and and pledging their allegiance to a piece of cloth every morning. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that goes against the whole belief system of most of our founding fathers. Okay. Our founding fathers, first of all, Republicans and Democrats didn't exist in those days. Okay. But our founding fathers were libertarians. All right. They believed in freedom and liberty. And most of them, not all of them, because there were Federalists, but most of them were anti-government activists. Okay. They didn't think that a new federal government in the United States was going to be any better than the government they'd just overthrown in England. Okay. The famous line, why should I trade one tyrant 1,000 miles away for 1,000 tyrants 1 mile away? Right. Okay. Our founding fathers, for the most part, were guys that wanted us to have absolute freedom. And there's a reason why we're called the United States. Okay. A state meant a sovereign country, an independent nation. And that's what the original conception of most, not all, but most of our founding fathers was that the United States should be a loose confederation of independent nations, and that the state should always be supreme to the federal government. And then there were also the other strain of our founding fathers that were Federalists. and they were the ones that pushed the idea of a stronger federal government and all of that. Okay, so there were two schools of thought, but
Well, ain't that what Texas is trying to do right now? They're trying to break away and become their own thing.
Texas talks about it a lot.
They talk a big game.
I don't. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't think they're leaving.
I don't know how many people in Texas
I'm going with
actually.
Texas because they're taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, there you go.
They can have them.
They can have them.
Hey, real quick, guys. This has been awesome. We do have some guests coming in, but they're going to be. We got about 10 minutes here. So I did this on purpose. I purposely surrounded Rob Norm Wilson with 5 diehard Bone Thugs and Harmony fans.
Oh my God!
And welcome to the segment. Norm
love that, I'm
shits
not
on
gonna lie.
Derek's. Norm shits on Derek's childhood. We asked you last week to listen to this week Bone Thugs and Harmony East 1999.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, man?
Well, like I said, from now on, instead of Bone Thugs and Harmony, I will refer to them as Temu Snoop Dogg. They're the cheap knockoff of Snoop Dogg.
Didn't go there. No, they're like on the same level almost.
Almost. She did say almost.
Almost.
You
It's
shouldn't have
because
said
it's
almost.
Like
because
if you-
Snoop Dogg was their mentor. You know, that's like the grasshopper overtaking the teacher.
I'm telling you.
But they're
If you
awesome.
ordered a Snoop Dogg album from Wish, you would get Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
Now, I'm joking, but I actually liked Bone Thugs and Harmony. I really did. I'm kind of joking because
Yeah,
I've got to crap on Derek's, childhood memories. But
they tried to be melodic about it. I
yeah,
think
they
it was-
and there is the part of you've got harmonies there and you've got different voices.
Stuff you
I
don't
actually
hear
just
in
learned not
music.
too long ago that Busy Bone has a beautiful voice. Like he can sing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you definitely have a different interaction coming there. But I was struck by how much the music and the rhythms and all that thing, all of that reminded me of Snoop Dogg. I mean, that when I say that, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Is that album particularly
And I think a lot of the
just
production
really sounds
was
like
from the
Snoop
West
Dogg,
Coast.
Yeah.
What was your favorite track on the album?
Okay, now here, this is the old man in me coming out. That whole album might as well have been one damn song.
It's
Okay.
all
Oh,
smudged together.
I mean, it all blends into each other. It all sounds the same to me. So, I mean, I liked what I was
love 'em,
hearing, but
every song.
as far as picking out songs, I couldn't pick out. You know what I'm saying? I can remember a few years ago, I'm coaching track at Liberal, and they were playing music. They used to play music over the loudspeakers, the PA system there at the stadium for the kids during practice. And we've been listening for about an hour, and one of the kids suddenly says, "Oh, this is my favorite song." I'm like, "What the hell? You mean there's been more than one song? I thought it was all the same crap."
Okay, well, we're gonna do some rearranging. If I can get everybody headphones and on E4 Jessica headphones to these people over here, we're gonna talk some bit. If y'all want, you gotta go, and then y'all can go to that couch over there, Brian and 40, and then Brian, can you help them get set up with their mics and headphones? We'll have you come sit on this couch. Thank you, Jessica. Yeah,
Right here.
listen here. Thank you, Jessica. Cowboys blow. All right.
Yeah, you got to be careful just throwing that around. Okay.
I know. You need to put the headphones on just so that way you'll be able to tell if the mic needs to be very close to your mouth. Okay, so we have in studio guests here. We have Sean, and we have is this your son? No. Okay, introduce yourselves and explain yourselves.
I'm Chris Mason.
Chris Mason.
Sean's my aunt.
Oh, okay. And then Sean, you're like originally from not originally, but you're from the Rolla area, right?
Yes, from Rolla.
Okay, awesome. So whose idea was it to buy a bar in your group of people? Like
Sean's. I was just sitting at work and I had a text message from her asking if I wanted to buy a bar.
After I seen your
Is it really because of the video I made?
yes.
So James owes me some money, is what
Yeah.
you're
Well, there
saying?
you go.
Yes.
Hold that right close to you. Like you have to get it real close. Have any of you ever ran a business, let alone like a bar situation? Like,
Yeah, I own the flea markets there in Liberal,
okay,
Kansas.
you currently do, or you used to, or
Yeah, I still do.
okay. What's that like, bro? That's my ears are. Casey, our resident Mexican, he looked up immediately. He's like, let me get his number before. No, I'm just kidding. I love flea markets. My dad would take me to them all the time. like what's that like? Is it like how many booths do you operate there, and like what's that situation like?
We probably got about 35 booths, about 40 different vendors.
Wow. Is it like just like a 1 day a week type thing, or how often do they open over there?
6 days a week.
Really?
Yeah, it stays pretty busy.
Hey, we're going to Liberal, dude. We're going to Liberal. Okay, so poor decisions. Sean, you decide you want to buy a bar. How much work did you? Because that place is. Do either of you know much about the history at all? Like, I know that at least 1960s, and I can get back to that place. I think it was called the Rig originally.
Yeah, Shannon has explained a little bit of that. Told me it's been a bar for a long time.
Many years, yeah.
And
You have you whenever you guys usually go to bars, like how long has it been since Rolla's had a bar, I guess, and why didn't you open a bar in your town? Why drive 15 miles to work every day? I guess
there's probably not a place in Rolla. The old bar is probably not.
You talking about the one that's like on that corner?
Cantina would be the old bar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cantina was big enough. If somebody was playing pool, all the people in the booths had to lay down so they.
Yeah, it's really little, and I've seen the back door wide open, and so who knows what lives in there?
I swear, now, is that little bar that had like a drive-through
On the
window?
corner, yeah.
Okay, so I had my first beer there when I was 15, and I didn't ask for it. I just walked in there to get some speakers for a show, and the lady behind the bar just handed me one, and I was like, "All right, I'm a man now." So what's the describe the level of nightmare from taking a building that's been empty for years and turning it into like a business?
Yeah, it's been a lot. There we had electrical problems a lot, and we had plumbing problems, but we got it taken care of.
Got it taken care
I
of.
wanted to walk out at one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because it was just like
It was overwhelming, and my anxiety and stress was crazy.
Does anybody here know how long it was empty? Like, because
I think over 4 years.
4 or 5 years,
4 or
yeah.
5 years.
Yeah. I don't think people realize like a building sitting empty for like even just a year is dangerous, like with bugs and rodents, and it's crazy. So as far as like the aesthetic of the bar, you guys finally went public today with pictures of the bar. I get to watch your Facebook likes that you're getting. A ton of people are liking the page today, and a lot of people have just been commenting about how great the bar looks. Who like where's all the inspiration come from for all the different like aesthetics that are in the room there?
Probably from me.
Yeah, most of it's from her.
Is it just like a nod to this area, or like
It's kind of just my style, and I mean my home's kind of the same way.
yeah? Now, what is the process like to? Because I noticed in the advertisement you guys are open like from 5 to midnight starting out, and I'm guessing that's for legal reasons, right?
Yes, we can only stay up until midnight because we are a cereal malt beverage only right now.
Right.
Liquor license. Once we have it, we can stay up until 2.
Now, I don't know, but when I was leaving Kansas in 2018, there was a bunch of legal stuff happening where basically like they were getting rid of like the 3-2 beer thing. On the license you currently have, is that still like is there like do you have to serve like 3-2 beer, or is there any kind of laws like that?
No, it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
So it's just completely wiped out. Okay. What kind of this stuff's all on their Facebook page, go check it out. What kind of food options are you going to have starting out? Because I know that you've been pretty much on every post you've made, you've said that like this is how it is today. Who knows 2 months from now, but we'll see. But like what are you serving right now that's just like
right now we're
food?
starting out with like concession type food.
Okay.
Nachos, Frito pie, homemade french fries with chili and cheese, and the chili will be homemade. Our chips and salsa, the salsa will be homemade.
Okay.
Just kind of basic. I don't want to overwhelm myself
in
the beginning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And hopefully be able to branch out into maybe some burgers, or maybe have like one night a week we do like offer something.
Well, the one thing you have going for you is that like I love this town, but literally 10:30 there's nothing to eat. And I found out Cruz said that he came over there not real late, and he took forever to get here. And he was like, I had to get soda. So I thought he went to like Hugoton. He's like, no, Shannon has a soda machine. I was like, what? So like that's literally, and I'm somebody who like I don't do like drugs or anything, but Coke Zero is a drug, and I have driven to Hugoton like probably 5 times in the last since I've been here. Now since you'll be open, like obviously serving drinks until midnight, like how late do you see like food being an option just for people who are starving and didn't make it to Jim Dandy or Moore's?
I plan on having it up until we close.
See, that's
There
like
you
a
go.
huge
Yeah.
you're gonna get large people like me showing up. Like I haven't drank in 20. I'll take 4 nachos, That's huge for Elkhart. Yeah.
4 nachos and a Diet Coke.
4 nachos and a Coke Zero, please.
Yeah.
And you do have soda options and stuff. Like you were
Yeah.
talking, like you didn't want it to be just like, yes, you happen to serve alcohol, but you also have all sorts of other things there and stuff.
Yeah, we have Coca-Cola coming in to bring their tap machine.
Yeah.
Okay. D Hay, he works for Back Home Media, and the first thing he asked me when he got here from Dodge City, he was like a part of a pool league for years, being a Dodge City resident, and right now there is a pool table. There's 2 pool tables that are public right now, but they are at the senior center, and you're almost afraid to play like pool because there's people having conversations. It's talk a little bit about like, because I know that you said that you have somebody that's like bringing in your pool tables, but they're also doing what all kind of options do the public have going in there? That like the pool tables and music and everything. Just kind of what all do you have available there?
We have 2 pool tables in which we plan on getting in with the pool league that like Hugoton has at their bar. And then we have a dartboard outside that won't cost any money. We're just going to let that be open. The pool tables do cost because they are not ours.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we have the digital jukebox.
Is that like a thing where you can actually order that from your phone?
You get the app on your phone, and you can play whatever you want from your phone, or you can go up to the jukebox actually and put money in it.
Okay. Which is crazy because, like, if you think about it, if you go back to even just 10 years ago when Danny Hayes owned that bar, she would hire me to play music, but she didn't have that. And that's perfect because I just had drunk people come up and try to tell me like some Taylor Swift song, like this one. I'm like, I don't know what you're. So like that's perfect. You have them pick that. Norm, how long has it been since like because you were around? You've been around Elkhart for like 30 years or so. Like, talk a little bit about the years of seeing. I know you're not like somebody who like goes to bars and drinks, but you've driven by that place. You've known all the different. In your 30 years you've been here, how many different bars have you seen there?
I don't know. It's been a bunch. Like I said, it was the Rig when I first came to town, I think. And yeah, there've been a bunch of bars there. And that's the thing. I mean, it's that's why we want to do as much as we can to help you with your business. Cause it would be nice to have an established business there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having it constantly turning over.
I've talked to like several people about it, and like they're just my buddy who is like, he's like, it's crazy how like I work all day, I work all week, and he's like as soon as he saw that the posted it was live and that May 9th's going to be opening night, and he was just like, I can finally, like, because he drives from out of town, he's like, I can finally come home and just go to a bar that's not an hour from my house. You know what I mean? Like, and have a drink. And I think that I really do think that 3 or 4 years without a place to go is pretty rough. I also want to talk about it too because like I'll probably be there like most nights and stuff, and I'm not somebody who drinks alcohol very often. But I do want to talk about like so you have places to hang out and stuff. Like in the outside, there's like areas that like where you can sit down, chill. Do you see it being because and I think when I'm talking about like the countless numbers of people who have made it a bar, I think for the most part all they really cared about was getting the liquor license and then just keeping the cups, I don't even know, clean, but just keeping the cups going. I think it was like just a booze spot, and I think if it's just a booze spot, you're gonna maybe scare off some people. But I think when you just look at the pictures of this place, like to me, it doesn't give off like a small town. To me, it gives off like a vibe like a family restaurant, maybe. Like, even though it's not like a restaurant, you know what I mean? But it doesn't, like, it's a place that I would take my kids if it was allowed, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't like have that scary small town vibe, bar look, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So May 9th, it'll be 5 to midnight. What hours and days are you starting out with?
We close on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
I saw that. So you have the
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays closed, and it looks like it's pretty much
Um,
5 to midnight until you get the license.
Yeah. On the Saturdays and Sundays, I think we'll do 2:00.
Okay. Yeah.
And once we get liquor license, we can stay up until 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to get a liquor license?
It's been a struggle, but
Really?
I'm in the clear now. I'm just-
Okay.
yeah.
And so you say you're in the clear, but is this a situation like where you do everything right, everything goes through, like you're still in a waiting period
It's-
for?
I actually got my liquor license today,
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
but I'm not going to serve liquor right off. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks to get kind of in the groove of it.
Well, I was gonna say
Right,
it's gonna
right,
take
right.
a while to get supplied and all of that.
And I
yeah.
thought I would have, another month because
Really?
they
That's
told me that it would
interesting.
take a while. And I just submitted my last paperwork in. Well, actually, I had my daughter doing most of it,
Uh-huh.
and she submitted it in, and we got it back within. I mean, we just took the last paperwork in yesterday.
So as
Well,
far
that's
as the
great.
state of Kansas is concerned, you could go down there and turn the lights on and
I have my liquor
you
license.
could
on
sell
the law.
booze right now.
Yeah.
That's wild. Because I've been talking to you and some of your friends I'll see at the bar when I go down there, and it's just nobody's come out and said it was going to be like a month or two, but that's the vibe I got from the
Yeah.
energy in the room. Everybody's like, yeah, I don't know.
It'll
Like,
be a while.
they
'cause-
keep saying like there's things wrong, like,
yeah.
is it literally just like the filling out paperwork and just having to go through a fine
Well,
tooth comb?
yeah, and normally it takes them time to process all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you send it into the state and they've got to process it, and so obviously
Yeah,
they got a pretty quick turnaround.
The first time it came back, we had several things wrong, so we had to
Uh-huh.
correct those, and then I had to go get like a security bond thing.
Uh-huh.
at
Right.
the- so once I got that and we got everything changed, it was pretty quick.
Feel free to be honest or bullshit us, but how do you feel like the vibe's been from like the locals? Like, because people knew, like, this is Elkhart, people talk. So the first time there was a truck parked out front, people were like, what the hell's going on down there, and it's been probably like 2 months since you started this venture. And then probably, I mean, most people, the cat was kind of out of the bag, but today was like the first official time you came out and said, what have you gotten, like a mixed bag of feedback from the public, or like what are you seeing, like when you read comments or people say that they're hearing stuff?
I've got nothing but positive.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I have not got any negative at all,
Yeah.
even from a few people that I thought I might.
Yeah.
And May 9th is a Wednesday, right?
Thursday.
That's a
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. So we'll be live the night before. We're going to promote the hell out of it. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Poor Decisions, 820 Border Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah. I had to look the address up because somebody not from Elkhart asked me where it was. Because everybody else, I'm like, it's across the street from the, wait, you don't know what that means. So I had to like Google it and look it up.
Yeah, and you just one thing I would say is number one, come out on the 9th. But here's the thing, if you want to have a place like this to enjoy yourself, then you need to come out all the time, okay? Not just on the 9th.
Yeah. And to me, as a fat man, the biggest they said that they're going to have food at least until
There you go.
midnight and soon until 2 a.m.
That's right.
That's a game changer. That's a game changer for I love this town, minus you can't buy supplies after 10:30.
Yeah.
That's rough. Well, we're gonna end the show. We want to thank you both for hanging out.
You're welcome.
It's been a blast, like learning about all of your crew over there, and trying to help you all with making stuff. And who does your art? We basically, all Back Home Media has done for you is just like tell everybody, just talk about you. But like you guys have done, we didn't do any. I didn't use a hammer once. I never used a paintbrush. Like, real quick, give a shout out to who made this possible in your personal circle, who really stepped up and helped you guys get this place going.
Definitely my kids. Desiree helped with a lot of the designing.
Uh-huh.
She found the logo. She put most of that together. Has helped with some of the decorating. Caressa has come in, took over the liquor license, and got all that. And she's helped with some of the cleaning and other things. My son Jordan has came in and done lots and lots of work, electrical and plumbing and all that. And alongside Jackson, when he was home from college, he did a little bit. And then Chris has done a lot.
We had a buddy named Michael Jenkins come down and help do odds and ends, and then
Yeah.
my wife, when she could come around, she comes and helps, but she's pretty busy with kids. So
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then as far as like day-to-day operations, are you both gonna be there every day? Like what staffing wise, who's pouring people's beers on the 9th?
It would, I mean, he's going to be there when he can.
Uh-huh.
But my family's going to step up.
Stephanie did offer to
And-
work for free.
Yes, she did.
She told me she wanted to get out of this
Yeah.
house and away from my kids. So
Yes, definitely.
so yeah, she might help you out there. Well, I thank you for stopping by. This is awesome. I really do. Not to end on a downer, but when Travis Williams passed away like a month ago, 2 months ago.
It was over spring break, so yeah,
Yeah.
I've been just a little
Over
a month ago. Yeah,
after that, we
a
did
month and a half.
we did
yeah.
a live stream where all his friends just we did a memorial, and afterwards, like I was just I knew of him, but I wasn't his friend, so I wasn't trying to get into any circles. But one thing I heard as soon as I saw is like 5 people who were from here but haven't been here for decades were like, "Is there a bar? Is there a bar?" And I knew, nobody knew, but I knew, and I just wanted to be like, because I don't think people understand like you need a bar for good times and for bad times. Like we
Exactly.
need a place to hang out.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. Norm, you want to get us out of here and I'll end it. And everybody go to Poor Decisions, 820 Border Avenue, Elkhart, Kansas. I'll be there May 9th at 5. I'll be there at 4:55 p.m. How about that?
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Guys, check out backhomemedia.com. See there the services offered by Back Home Media, and especially the podcasts that are a part of Back Home Media. And come out and check out Poor Decisions on May 9th and other nights from there on out. And thanks for being with us this week, and we will see you again next week.
Elkhart Tapes is better than the Dodgecast. We'll see you.